Well, last night there was a heavyweight fight for the ages, and I'm not talking about Pacquiao and Mayweather. I'm talking Los Angeles Clippers, San Antonio Spurs, Game 7. I think this is one we'll be talking about for years to come. I'm going to call it a legacy game, a legacy shot for Chris Paul. Julian, you're our guest. What are your initial thoughts on that tremendous game?
Initially, when the game was happening, I said that that game was pretty much on the undercard for the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. And then I saw the actual fight, and I was like, Spurs-Clippers was way better than the actual Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. I wish I got into the series from back to front, from games 1 to game 7, because game 7 was the first time I was watching a game from that series, from the beginning to the end. I caught the end of game 5, caught the end of game 6. So game 7, close from the get. Chris Paul had the hamstring injury. He needed to be out there on the floor despite that injury. What do you know? He pulls off that amazing shot near the end over Tim Duncan. I was very, very impressed. I totally get you with the whole legacy shot thing.
Yeah, I mean, Phil, what stands out for you most in this series that probably go down as one of the series that Adam Silver's wish didn't happen so early in the playoffs?
I mean, as you're mentioning, Chris Paul was the absolute hero. I actually thought the bigger shot was that bank 3 to bring them up. I thought they were just clutch shot after clutch shot. The growth of Blake Griffin getting that triple-double and his
quiet triple-double.
He was kind of the catalyst. Yeah, he was kind of the catalyst for much of the show. I mean, like, Chris Paul, essentially was good, but and he had his moments at the end. But we saw towards after he was grasping at his hamstring, where he was a little bit slower guarding Tony Parker. Saw Tony Parker going towards him and attacking in attack mode. But to me, it's just a culmination of Chris Paul finally making that jump from the first round, kind of monkey on his back, taking it off, and you can see the tears of, I'm sure, pain, but also just letting go.
Yeah, and there's a very interesting dynamic of the big brother thing with Tim Duncan. They both went to Wake Forest. Apparently, I think it was Chris Paul's cousin played AAU ball with a relative of Tim, something like that. So they had a connection for over 10, 15 years. And it seemed in a way of passing the torch. Got to talk about controversy in the matchup. The shot clock buzzer went off with 1 second to go. I can understand in a series, in a situation like that with everything on the line. For me, I didn't like that they didn't give the Spurs an opportunity to set up a second time. It's like they showed half of their cards in a poker match and then still had to show the rest of their cards. I wish they had given the Spurs a few seconds to kind of come up with something again. But like I said, 1 second on the clock, and this is something interesting I have to point out. Elias Sports said this is the first time in NBA history in a playoff Game 7 that is decided on a 1 second shot. Going forward, I mean, do you think the Spurs, they've got a lot of decisions to make in this offseason. Quickly, Julian, I mean, do you think these guys, the old timers, can be back? Do you think Danny Green's going to be back? What are they going to do?
Tim Duncan, I'd be very surprised if he left. I think he could still play at an elite level, could still play in the playoffs. He was still averaging about at least a double-double throughout the series, or a triple-double.
39 years old.
Yeah, 39 years old. He can still play. So I think it's definitely going to depend on...
He's still like a top 3-4 power forward in his production.
Absolutely. It's still going to depend on whether he steps away or not. Danny Green, I think he's been solid for them ever since he joined the team. I'd like to see him
the money, though.
Someone's going to throw some money at him, even just to say, hey.
But the thing is, if Manu's not back, you kind of have to keep him, right? Because I'm not sure if Bellinelli is the only answer, right? Like, he's nice off the bench, he ball handles, but at the same point, I think the big three, I think this is contingent on free agency. I think they're going to wait to see. A lot of talk with Marcus Aldridge, some side talk about Marc Gasol. Both those guys next to aging Tim Duncan would look fantastic. I mean, you can't tell me Kawhi Leonard, LaMarcus Aldridge, Tim Duncan wouldn't be the favorite front court in the NBA this season.
Kawhi has to be re-signed himself.
Well, I think that's a foregone conclusion that he's going to receive the max. I mean, for what he brings on the defensive end as well. I mean, and as we saw in the other show there, his numbers kind of stagnate his points and his production, but he's easily a top 5 small forward, and you were even arguing for top 10 players. How can you not offer that guy?
Well, I would definitely offer. It's just they have to throw the money, spread the money around. That's how they always do things. So it's interesting to max out a max guy. But like I said, this has been a series for the ages, and it's something that Chris Paul and Tim Duncan and all his fans will always remember. DeAndre Jordan of the Los Angeles Clippers, a guy many thought was Defensive Player of the Year, interestingly came out, I guess kind of quasi-publicly stating he wants to head to Dallas to Big D in the offseason as a free agent. Julian, why is he saying this?
I don't know. I don't know why he's saying that. That doesn't. And I'm very surprised that he would say that. And I'm curious to know if he still feels that way now that the Clippers are going to round 2.
Yeah.
I don't know. Dirk Nowitzki did say that he was willing to cut
back.
Yeah, willing to cut back on some of his minutes just so Dallas
wants
can
to
get
learn
some
to shoot
talent.
free throws. Who better than Dirk? Right?
Yeah, you know, Hack of Jordan. I mean, I'm a Mavericks fan, so I would love to see DeAndre Jordan in a Mavericks uniform, but I wouldn't hold my breath on it, especially, you know, now that the Clippers are in round 2, let's see how they do in the playoffs. Maybe DeAndre changes his mind.
Yeah. He's also playing with Chris Paul, right?
Yeah.
And that Chris Paul effect for big guys, Tyson Chandler, DeAndre Jordan, we can't take that away.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the thing that's defined the Clippers season is that moment during the regular season where there's a last seconds of a game and DeAndre got the rebound and thought the game was over because the shot clock expired and Chris Paul was screaming at him to shoot the ball.
He has the highest basketball IQ.
He doesn't, and he grabs the rim way too much when shots are going up.
Although he's a fun guy to watch, right? Because he, like I think the whole conversation is, do you keep the Lob City for the fun of it? I mean, that's one of the most fun teams to watch.
Yes, it sells tickets, but
to win, I still have my doubts because DeAndre Jordan wasn't playing a lot of that fourth quarter. And did it seem at the end when the whole bench was like, yeah, he saw DeAndre Jordan kind of give Chris Paul a weird little look.
Yeah, I think there's something there.
Something's there.
Julian, if you're Mark Cuban, you take a bite at this?
Of course you do. You're doing everything you can to win a championship, and now that you're not going to have Rajon Rondo anymore, you're going to need pieces.
Yeah.
You're going to need pieces. So, of course, you take a shot at Rajon Rondo. Sorry, not Rajon Rondo. You take a look at DeAndre Jordan. That Rajon Rondo's gone now. LaMarcus Aldridge. Take a look at him, too, if he's available.
Right. Isn't he grew up in Dallas, by the way?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Definitely you take a look at LaMarcus Aldridge.
Isn't that too much of the same thing, though? You're kind of your offensive big guy. Because in my mind, the Aldridge Duncan thing was pairing an offensive defense. Same thing with your DeAndre Dirk, which is kind of like a younger, fresher, better version of Tyson Chandler at this point.
Phil, where do you think DeAndre is next year?
I think he stays. I think with the salary cap going up the year later, I think he's going to get close to max out now, which won't be a max once this cap goes up. And he's proven to be an effective player. I just hope he learns to shoot underhand and get the free throw percentages up. But the thing is, like I was talking about a couple of different things. I think an interesting trade, if Memphis doesn't think they're going to grab Marc Gasol, is to sign and trade Marc Gasol, DeAndre Jordan.
Wow.
I just make Memphis a little bit younger, still Zach Randolph back the offensive focal point with Mike Conley, and then imagine Blake Griffin and Marc Gasol. I know it probably won't happen. I don't think Marc Gasol is leaving, to be perfectly honest. But imagine the passing: Blake Griffin, Marc Gasol, Chris Paul. Just let that sink in for a second.
I think Marc Gasol would be good on any team, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, so lots of question marks with DeAndre and Big D.